Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going deep on Shiv Khera's You Can Win. I'm really excited to unpack his principles for achieving success.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff in there.
I know. And what I found really interesting was his whole premise that success isn't about luck.
Right.
It's about, consistently applying these kind of fundamental principles.
Yeah, it's more about like a system or a process almost.
And it all ties back to like your attitude, your self-esteem, your motivation.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And how they all work together.
Okay, so are you ready to uncover those diamonds Kara says we're all walking on?
Oh, absolutely. Let's dig in.
Okay. Well, one of the ideas that really struck me was this concept of untapped potential.
Yeah, Kara really emphasizes that, right? Like we all have this potential just waiting to be unleashed.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's right there in front of us, but we just don't see it.
I love that analogy he uses with the black balloon.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
It doesn't matter what color the balloon is, right?
Right. It's not about the outside.
It's about what's inside, the gas, that gives it the ability to rise.
Yeah, the potential is within us, like that gas. We just got to figure out how to use it.
But sometimes I feel like we're missing that spark, Like we know we have potential, but how do we actually tap into it?
Well, that's where attitude comes in, right?
Okay, yeah.
Kira's whole point is that a positive attitude is like the very foundation of success.
It's so important.
He tells this great story uh, about an African farmer. You heard this one?
No, tell me about it.
So he sells his farm to go look for diamonds. He thinks there's got to be diamonds somewhere else. But guess what?
What?
The new owner finds diamonds right there on the property.
Oh,
He
wow.
was standing on acres of diamonds the whole time.
It's amazing how we can miss those opportunities.
Right. Just because of our perspective.
Yeah.
Because we're not looking in the right place or with the right attitude.
It's like we get so caught up in what we think we should be doing or where we should be going that we totally miss what's right in front of us.
And Kara goes on to explain that a negative attitude, it doesn't just block us from seeing opportunities.
It can really hold us back in so many ways.
He links it to bitterness, resentment, a lack of purpose in life, even ill health and stress.
Right. Like it affects every single area of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we know a positive attitude is key, but how do we actually shift from negative to positive,
Well, he has this whole 5-step process.
Okay.
But one of the most important things he talks about is learning to change your focus.
So even when things aren't going great, you can still choose to focus on the positive.
Exactly. It's like digging for gold. You have to move a lot of dirt,
Yeah.
but your focus is on finding the gold, not the dirt.
Right. Makes sense.
And he really emphasizes staying away from negative influences, too.
Oh, that's a big one.
Think about the people you hang out with, the media you consume.
Even just the way you talk to yourself.
Yes, all of that plays a role.
It's easy to underestimate how much those things can influence us,
Right. But Kara's saying they directly affect our self-esteem, which is, another big theme in his book.
He makes this really cool comparison to a pumpkin growing in a glass jar.
Okay.
So the pumpkin can only grow as big as the jar, right? It's limited by the boundaries of the jar.
So we're like the pumpkin, and our self-beliefs are like the jar.
Precisely. Our potential can be limited by the boundaries of our own self-beliefs.
Wow, I never thought about it that way.
So if we want to reach our full potential, we have to sort of break out of that jar.
Shatter those limiting beliefs. So what are some of the things Kara suggests for building self-esteem?
Well, he talks about setting realistic goals, not being afraid to fail. And something that really resonated with me was learning to give and receive compliments genuinely.
Because a lot of times we deflect compliments,
Exactly. Or we don't really believe them. So it's about learning to accept them gracefully and internalize them.
That makes sense. It's like we need to believe in ourselves before others can truly believe in us. Right. And, he also stresses the importance of associating with positive people.
That's huge, isn't it?
If you're constantly around people who are negative or critical, it's going to drag you down.
So surrounding yourself with supportive, uplifting people is key.
Yeah, it's about finding those people who will encourage you and help you believe in yourself.
I've been there, where I feel like I know what I should be doing, but I just lack the motivation to actually do it.
The motivation struggle. Kara talks a lot about that. He breaks down the concept of motivation into 2 categories, internal and external.
Interesting. What's the difference?
Well, external motivation is driven by rewards and punishments. So like you're doing something to get a reward or avoid a punishment, like a bonus at work.
I see. And internal motivation.
That comes from a deeper sense of purpose. You're
Hmm.
doing it because you believe in it, not because of some external carrot dangling in front of you.
So it's about finding work that truly aligns with your values and gives you that sense of fulfillment.
Exactly. Like if you're passionate about what you do, the motivation will come naturally.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces connect. Positive attitude, self-esteem, and now motivation. They all play a part in this larger picture of success.
Absolutely. It's a holistic approach.
But I'm wondering, even when we're motivated, there's got to be something else that separates those who achieve great things from those who don't. What do you think?
Hmm. Well, Kara has this concept called the winning edge.
Okay, I like that. Tell me more.
It's the idea that success often comes down to making small, consistent improvements in a lot of areas, not one giant leap.
So it's those little things that add up over time.
Precisely. Think of it like a horse race. The winning horse might only be a fraction of a second faster.
But that tiny edge is what puts them in the winner circle.
Exactly. And he says, this winning edge comes from a combination of things. Passion, dedication,
Willingness to learn from mistakes.
hard work, persistence.
And he emphasizes that even the most successful people have faced failures along the way. Oh, absolutely. Like, think about Thomas Edison, right? He had tons of failed experiments before he invented the light bulb.
It's actually comforting to know that. It shows that setbacks are a normal part of the process.
Exactly. And that persistence, that commitment to keep going, even when things are tough, that's what really makes the difference.
It's not about being perfect or never making mistakes. It's about having that resilience to keep pushing forward. So we've got the attitude, the self-esteem, the motivation, the winning edge. But don't we need a roadmap, like some direction for all this energy?
Ah, you're talking about goals.
Yes.
Goal setting.
And Kara really drives home the importance of having those clear goals. He shares this anecdote about 8 wealthy individuals.
Okay.
They achieved incredible financial success, but they weren't actually fulfilled.
Why not? What were they missing?
Well, their goals were solely focused on making money. They didn't really consider the bigger picture.
So it's not just about achieving any goal. It's about setting goals that align with your values and contribute to a life that feels meaningful.
Precisely. And he talks about this idea of work-life balance, finding purpose beyond just, financial gain.
Because success without fulfillment is kind of empty, isn't it?
Exactly. It's got to be about more than just checking boxes.
Okay, so we need goals, but we also need to make sure those goals are aligned with our values, which is, another big piece of Kara's message.
Values are like our guiding principles, right? They're the compass that directs our decisions.
So if we don't have a clear sense of our values, we can end up making choices that ultimately lead to regret.
Yeah, we can get off track pretty easily.
And he digs into different types of values, right? Like commitment, honesty, responsibility.
Yeah, and he argues that living in accordance with our values not only brings us personal fulfillment, but also contributes to a better world.
It's about making choices that benefit not just ourselves, but also the people around us.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do we go from here? We've covered a lot of ground. Positive attitude, self-esteem, motivation, that winning edge, the importance of goal setting and values. It feels like it's all starting to come together.
It is. It's all connected. But you know what? I think we need to take a break and let all this sink in a bit.
Good idea. I'm already feeling inspired. And when we come back, we'll dive into even more of Kara's wisdom on how to achieve true and lasting success. So stay tuned.
So we were talking about Kara's concept of values right before the break.
Yeah, and how important they are to, making sure our goals are actually leading us in the right direction.
Right. And he gives a lot of examples of different values, like commitment to family and friends, honesty, integrity, responsibility.
It's like those are the things that should be guiding our choices.
Exactly. And he tells these really inspiring stories about people who made ethical choices even when it was really hard.
Like they had to sacrifice something to do the right thing.
Yeah. And he argues that, doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it's what ultimately leads to true fulfillment.
It's like that saying, success without integrity is meaningless, or something like that.
Yeah. It's like building a house on a foundation of sand.
I like that analogy. So how does he connect this idea of values back to, achieving success?
Well, he actually sees those values as part of the winning edge.
Okay, that's interesting. I wouldn't have necessarily thought of it that way.
So think about it. Qualities like honesty, integrity, a strong work ethic, they don't just make you a better person. They make you a more effective, reliable person.
So people are more likely to trust you, want to work with you, and give you opportunities.
Right. It can actually give you a competitive advantage.
It's like living by your values isn't just some moral high ground thing. It actually becomes a strategic advantage.
Exactly. And, those values should also inform the goals that you set.
Right. Like if your goal is to, become a millionaire, but your values are all about honesty and integrity.
Then those things need to be in alignment, right?
Otherwise, you might achieve the goal, but still feel empty inside.
Exactly. He even connects values to everyday things,
Yeah.
like saying please and thank you, being on time.
Wow, really? I mean, those things are important, but it's interesting to see how he ties it all back to this bigger picture of success.
He's saying that those little gestures actually reflect deeper values, like respect, consideration for others.
So it's about making those small, consistent choices that reflect who you really are and what you stand for.
Yeah. He argues that practicing those things, it doesn't just benefit other people, it enhances our own self-worth.
Makes us feel better about ourselves.
And ultimately contributes to a more fulfilling life.
So it's not just about the big goals and achievements, it's about those daily actions, those small choices we make.
And speaking of goals, there's one key piece of Khera's goal-setting framework we haven't discussed yet,
What's that?
the SMART method.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of SMART goals, but honestly, I need a refresher. Can you break it down for our listeners?
Sure. So each letter in SMART stands for a characteristic your goals should have. So the S stands for specific,
Okay.
meaning your goals should be clearly defined, not vague.
So instead of just saying, I want to be successful, you'd say, like, I want to start my own business.
Exactly. It's about creating that clear roadmap, knowing exactly where you're headed.
Okay, that makes sense. What's M?
M is for measurable. You need to be able to track your progress and know, when you've actually achieved the goal.
So instead of just saying start a business, it would be generate X amount of revenue in the first year.
Yeah, something like that.
I get it. You need those concrete benchmarks so you can actually see how you're doing. Okay, what's next?
A stands for achievable.
Meaning?
Your goals should be challenging, of course, but they should also be realistic.
We don't want to set ourselves up for failure by aiming for something that's completely out of reach.
Right. It's about finding that sweet spot between ambition and actually being able to make progress.
Okay, I like that. So what's R?
R stands for relevant. So your goals should align with your values and your overall purpose.
This goes back to what we were talking about before, right? Making sure your goals are actually leading you towards a life that feels meaningful.
Exactly. It's about making sure those pursuits are actually things that you care about and that contribute to, a life that you want to be living.
Okay, and finally, T. What's T stand for?
P is for time-bound, meaning you need to set deadlines for your goals.
That makes sense. Otherwise, it's easy to just, keep pushing them off indefinitely.
Exactly. It's about having that sense of urgency, that accountability to actually take action and make things happen.
It's like that saying, a goal without a deadline is just a dream.
Exactly.
Khera really has packed a lot into this book, hasn't he?
He has. He gives us a really comprehensive framework for achieving success, from cultivating that positive attitude, building self-esteem, setting smart goals, and living by your values.
And it's not just about hitting those external targets, it's about becoming a better person along the way.
It's that whole journey of growth and self-discovery.
Okay, well, before we wrap up this deep dive into You Can Win, is there anything else that really stands out to you about Khera's message?
One thing that really stuck with me was Khera's emphasis on choice.
Okay.
He's basically saying that success isn't about luck or circumstances.
It's about taking ownership.
Yeah, it's a choice to cultivate a positive attitude, to build strong character, to set those meaningful goals, and to actually live by your values.
I like that. Because even though we can't always control what happens to us,
Right.
we can control how we respond.
Exactly. And he gets into some really interesting strategies,
Yeah.
like for actually implementing these principles in everyday life.
Yeah, like what? Give me an example.
Well, for example, he talks about the importance of visualization.
Oh, I love that.
So it's like creating a mental picture, right, of your desired outcome
Mm-hmm.
and using that image to fuel your motivation.
So you're basically using the power of your imagination to create the reality you want.
Yeah. And he connects this to the power of auto-suggestion.
Oh, interesting. So like using affirmations and things like that?
Yeah, it's the idea that you can actually reprogram your subconscious beliefs by consistently feeding your mind positive messages.
But it's not just about repeating those phrases, is it?
No, it's about really embodying them,
Mm.
believing them.
Yeah.
And he gives some tips on how to make that more effective.
Okay, like what?
Well, he says it's really important to combine those affirmations with strong emotions and vivid imagery.
Oh, okay.
So instead of just saying, I am successful, visualize yourself actually achieving a specific goal and really feel what it would feel like to achieve that.
It's like making it real in your mind.
The more you can engage your emotions and your senses, the more powerful those suggestions become.
So it's not just a mental exercise, it's also an emotional one.
Right. And of course, he talks about the importance of persistence and self-discipline,
Which I think is something we all struggle with from time to time.
especially when you face setbacks, right?
Yeah, those are tough.
But he encourages us to look at those setbacks as opportunities for growth, not as reasons to give up.
It's like reframing those challenges. So instead of seeing them as failures, you're seeing them as stepping stones.
Exactly. And, he talks about the importance of surrounding yourself with supportive people,
Oh, yeah, your community, your mentors.
people who believe in you, who will encourage you. Because, let's face it, we can't do it all alone.
It's like having that team, that support system to help you stay on track, especially when things get tough.
And one of my favorite quotes from the book is when he says, "Winners don't do different things, they do things differently."
Oh, I love that. That's so good.
It's a reminder that we all have the potential to achieve success. But it's about finding your own way, making those consistent choices and never giving up on your dreams.
I think that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive into You Can Win. This book is packed with wisdom.
It really is.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and maybe even a little bit of inspiration to create the life you want. Remember, success is a choice and it starts with you. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to be the best version of yourself.